Hello. My goal today, I apologize for the grainy quality of the picture. I'm in a hotel, and I've been posting about the CRA. In 2019, I got my pension paid out by CMHC in certain chunks of money, and each chunk was subject to 30% withholding or taxation. Depending on how accessible it was to me at the time. So, for example, the portion that was RRSPs was obviously taxed as I cashed them out. Then the portion that was cash, the tax was withheld at the source, so I never got that money to pay the taxes, but I got a T4 saying that amount of taxes were charged. The third amount was a lump sum transfer from a locked-in vehicle, the pension of CMHC, to a life income, LIRA sort of format for me. Now, the tax law or CRA explicitly states that if money goes from a locked-in to a locked-in, the tax has to be waived, and it is charged when you take out the money. So it's not subject to taxation. And there's actually a little box on the tax documents that show that the lump sum money is locked in, and it actually creates a financial benefit for the person who has locked in money, being me. But the CRA has decided to tax the locked in money I received upfront at 30%, which is a lot of money, and then to allow the money to again be taxed as it's distributed to me. So each year I get a tiny amount of it. It's kind of set up so you can't spend the money before you die. So I get a small portion and that is taxed. But all that money that's locked in, I don't have access to. But the CRA wants to remove it from me under the guise of taxation, even though I've already paid 30% tax on any money I've received. So the CRA could easily just follow my pension documents as evidence, but this is what they do. They're capitalizing on an error made by CMHC, perhaps, which is very incompetent. Their pension management actually had to be taken out of their organization, so it's not utterly clear to me whether the incompetence is intentional. Are they faking it? Are they stealing? Who knows? I worked there for several years. I can attest to the corruption in that organization, and the way it was handled and managed was unbelievable to watch. So CRA uses Ceridian in Montreal, no coincidence there, to issue its taxation documents like the T4s, T5s, etc. Ceridian issued me a tax document that doesn't even add up to the pension. It doesn't even properly reflect the money I received, nor the locked-in amount. All the numbers are wrong. And furthermore, they filled it out incorrectly, implying that lump sum was direct income to me that I received. Now, Ceridian could correct the tax document. They don't want to do that. Why don't they want to do that is my question. Why are they dragging their heels? Why have I paid a lawyer $6,000 to date to fight the CRA when they know I'm right? But they are capitalizing on the error of Ceridian, which is in Montreal, working with CMHC, which is primarily Francophone. Again, there's that French connection. And the CRA, which primarily is in Quebec employing Francophones. So what is going on here? Is this a situation of fraud? I think it may be, because a task as simple as issuing a revised T4 or 5 or whatever, T4P, that's not a huge thing. But refusing to do it and costing a private citizen, $90,000 in taxes should be a crime. So more to follow. But today I want to give you a taste of what it's like to be me dealing with the CRA. My harassment from the CRA started in 2002. In 2002, I had lived in Quebec most of that year, and due to insane landlords who kept breaking into the house I was renting from them, I left my home, not returning until part of 2003. Why I did this was because the landlords walked in the house freely whenever they wanted. I caught them in my bedroom closet, and so thank you, Debbie and Chad. But anyway, they put the house up for sale and then tried to create a case to make me pay for the roof, saying that by having satellite TV, we had damaged the roof and I needed to pay to replace it. That's where they were going, I believe. But the house sold, and the new owners became my landlords in January of 2003. So I was able to return to the home without the crazy people constantly harassing me in it. So at the end of 2002, I moved into Ottawa and lived with friends, needing a place to go. And I filed my taxes incorrectly. At that time, I should have just filed them in Ontario where I was on the 31st, but I misunderstood, filed them in Quebec. So I made a little mistake here. My tax bill, what I would owe, was about $800 or $900. It was very small. I didn't make a lot of money. My career was not doing great. My ex-husband had terrorized me to the extent where I'd lost jobs. And I had to take care of my kids almost full time because he was useless. So, I was in an easy position, not at a level I should have been working at, but it was safe and I was somewhat secure for the time being from my ex-husband, and also being able to drop things in a second and go to the doctors or the hospital with my children. So that year I filed in Ontario. The whole process was done. And then I realized later I should file in Quebec. So I did that. I wrote the tax department saying I made an error here. I should have shown my taxes in Quebec. And I did that filing probably before it was due. Pretty quick, I corrected that mistake. And at the time, and I used a U-File or an online process, and I got a printout saying, like you usually do, summary of your federal taxes, and below that says you've successfully filed your taxes in the province that you're filing in. So it could say Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba, yada, yada. And I received that printout showing I had done that. And I don't believe I owed any taxes, or if I did, it was under $1,000. 1 year later, some lunatic calls me from Quebec and sends me a letter. She says, your taxes are in arrears. You haven't paid the amount owing. And I said, I've never received anything to imply I owe anything. Plus, this was done in error. My taxes were filed in Ontario. I sent you guys a letter, whatever. Of course, they don't have the letter because Quebec, CRA in Quebec is controlled by Quebec, so they can do whatever they want. They're not subject to federal rules or even the law. So I get a bill for taxes from Quebec for $1,000, but they fine me an extra $5,000 or $4,000 for no reason, claiming I failed to file, even though I provided them the proof. And the reason it took them a year to call me was because the person who had my file was on maternity leave. This is the operation they're running. So this issue continues to grow. I show the evidence. I argue. I go to CRA. They say, oh, no, we can't do anything. It's Quebec. We gave them full authority to abuse the law. So by 2008, the penalty on my apparent $1,000 owing, which I did not owe, is about $15,000. And they train wrecked my life, the Quebec Tax Department. There is no body or unit or law or agency that will help you out when the tax department in Quebec goes after you. I have multiple friends that moved due to work reasons, and when they ended up in Ontario from Quebec, all of a sudden, every year of their taxes was being reviewed, and they were receiving enormous bills for unpaid taxes that weren't even real. But being Quebecers at heart, they all paid those bills because they're not that swift. So my experience with the tax department started in 2002 with this abuse and harassment. In 2008, I lost everything because of the Quebec Tax Department on the advisement of 3 financial counselors who said, yeah, they do what they want, legal or not. And I'm in a similar situation today with the CRA doing something completely wrong, knowing it's wrong, and not being able to actually get a corrected T4P. So, just to give you a bird's eye about the beginning of that harassment, well, that harassment from CRA continued every year. I could say that every year when I got in the car to go on holiday with my children, to drive to my home city, within a week of my departure, I would get one of 2 things, or both. My ex-husband would suddenly demand I appear in court knowing that I was a couple days away by car, and the CRA would start their assessment, reassessment, their questioning of certain line items, sometimes an audit, and every tax year it would go on and on. So just to give you a picture, in January 10th of 2014, this is a printout of what the CRA sent me. Now, it's hard to see on the computer, but as you can see, there's 2 pages and many, many lines. So, on January 10th, 2014, the CRA gave me the results of their busy reassessments and assessments and reevaluations and audit, yada, 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 from 2012 to so we begin with July 19, 2010 with an assessment. 2010. A credit is given to me because, once again, I am in the right. The next thing I get is July 19, 2012, a refund is issued because, again, the CRA was wrong. Again, an assessment for 2012, and it's showing October 29th, I'm assessed and I'm given a credit over $12,000 because, again, I was in the right and they denied something. 2010 reassessment occurred on December 24th, 2012, according to this letter. And at reassessment, they gave me more money. Then they gave me a credit for almost $700 in interest. 2013 February, I was given further credits. 2010 was assessed again in February 2013. And there were several ensuing credits. Another big one, my 2012 was reassessed July 5th, 2013 for a credit over $4,000. Most of these lines are credits because the CRA denied, I complied, sent documents to them, and they were forced to give me credits. Oh, here's another one. My 2012 reassessment done on September 3rd, 2013 gave me a $5,000 credit. Oh, and another one for 2010. November 4th, 2013, a 2010 reassessment gave me over $3,000. Every line on these letters are things that the CRA pursued me for through various letters, various requests for information. So, for example, I get a letter saying, you owe us money of this amount, and I challenge it. 4 years later, they give me a credit. I end up paying it, but they always give me a credit. 2013, I was in a severe accident, lost all my income. But the CRA, that wasn't enough for them to leave me alone. I had to fight for disability tax credit. I think I sent in my information 5 times, and finally I was forced to pay $7,000 to a private firm to be able to obtain that. I wrote service complaint after service complaint, letters to the tax ombudsman, and it never ends. Here's another one dated April 28, 2014, tax year 2012, because every tax year of mine is in flux for 6-7 years because they deny everything every year. This one gives me a credit and a balance due, claiming, what chain did they change? They changed my Ontario tax with no explanation. They gave me many credits, but they state there's still a balance owing. Now, I believe this balance owing is credited later on. So here's another one. September 9, 2015. Check out all the lines. April 10th, 2014, they reassessed my 2011. They charged me interest. And then on the 14th of April, they gave me almost a $6,000 credit. For 2011, on the 28th of April, they gave me a $1,200 credit and a $400 credit. On April 2nd, 2015, for 2011, they gave me almost $8,500 credit. And on June 15th, 2015, the amount I disputed from the previous bill, which was almost $8,000, which was for 2014. Remember, we're in 2015. It's hard to keep track. They credited me $8,000 and then another $1,612. All their mistakes over and over and over again. So what do you do when the tax department comes after you? What am I going to do this time when they're going to try and take my home and my entire life? I'm going to win. There is no way the CRA is stealing my money and stealing my pension. As dirty as they are, it's going to stop here and now.